If you had a loved one pass unexpectedly, whether it's a spouse or partner, a child, you become an archaeologist. Would you know, like, do they have a will? Who's their insurance agent? Do they have a safety deposit box? Because if I went to you and said digital vault, what's a digital vault? But one of the key things is, how do you help people understand? Don't panic. After 6 months, you'd be stunned what you have.
What does it take to create action, to build that plan? Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Nikki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact. And welcome back to the Digital Legacy Podcast, Death and Dying in the Digital Age, and the importance of being prepared. I'm here with Glenn with Prisidio. And Glenn, thank you so much for joining.
So excited to be here, and honestly, so excited to be a part of what I think is such an important topic.
Right? This digital age, and talking about our preparedness and most importantly, our digital assets. And that's where Prisidio comes in. So, you've been on a fantastic journey, Glenn. And for most people who don't know you, please share with us where you've been and how have you gotten to Prisidio today?
Yeah, it's been a journey, but I'll tell you, as I look back, I really believe I am the right person at the right time to be doing what I am and leading the team, because I literally have spent my entire career helping companies, large companies, manage their most important and sensitive information, right? And that's literally from out of college. This is what I've been doing, because in the digital age, whereas 100 years ago, the barrel of oil, the building, that was the value of a company. So much now is the intellectual assets, and it's captured in documents and information, right? And so that's where I've focused my career. And, I did that for large companies for the first part of it. And then I've shifted to being an entrepreneur. This is the third company I've started. But what happened is the last company I started was, quite frankly, for my wife to help her in the real estate transaction and managing all of the documents and information that drove transactions. But what happened is I found myself using that tool, not for real estate, but for our family information, to be able to keep it safe and securely share it with others and access it from anywhere. And then this some may say it's an aha moment. For others, it's the curse of an entrepreneur. Like, I think I've got an idea. And so I ended up leaving DocuSign, which was an insanely great company to work for. I had about a 9-year journey as a partner and then an employee. But I left because I realized we have the same problem, right? As families and individuals, we've got this explosion of content in our lives, whether it's document information, right? The average person has over 100 online accounts, the average person, right? We have a blend of physical and digital. Some stuff you get in the mail, some of the stuff you get via email, some you have to go to someone's portal. When we need to access our most important information, we have to recall where we put it. And sometimes you even have to recall how you got it to where you may have put it, right? And then when you need it, you may not be able to get to it because you're at dinner, you're on a trip. And then the bad part about all this is when I need to get something of my important, sensitive stuff to you, I text it or email because it's easy for me to get to you, but it's also the least secure way of doing so.
And we need to understand, even just your journey with DocuSign, right? And for those people who missed that piece, right? So yeah. Glenn, you were part of that original team with DocuSign, which it was, when did DocuSign, pre-DocuSign, when did that idea come to fruition?
Well, so, DocuSign, we were their first acquisition in 2013. And my journey with them started actually in 2010, which is very, very early. I started working with DocuSign when they were under 50 employees. We incorporated DocuSign into our solution for real estate because it's really a key component of it. And what happened is it just really took off. I mean, really, really took off. And DocuSign realized how important, and by the way, real estate was the most important vertical for DocuSign when they hit their first growth component or growth trajectory. And so what we did was really unique. It was driving a lot of business. And so, they approached us about acquisition, and I wasn't looking to be acquired, but it was such a good fit. And so when we joined, there were only about 250 employees. And when I left right before they went public, there was, I don't know, 3,500, 3,800 employees. And it was a real great experience. And quite frankly, there's one of the most important takeaways I had that's applicable is they had the same problem early in their days that I have right now at Prisidio, which is we have this new thing. For them, it was digital signature, right? Electronic signature, because what did we know before that? We knew pen and paper. In fact,
oh my gosh, the
right?
pain of
Yeah.
faxing,
Yeah.
FedExing, just to get a signature
Right.
and to verify that signature. DocuSign was a game changer.
Changed it,
Right?
and they're the verb, right? They're the Kleenex
It
of
is.
electronic signature. But think about it now. If I went to you 15 years ago and I was your realtor, right, and you said, Glenn, I want to put an offer on 123 Main Street, and I said, okay, Nikki, I'm going to go home. I'm going to send you an email. It's going to come from this thing called DocuSign. You're going to go on your computer and type your name on the signature line. The overwhelming reaction 15 years ago is, okay, hold up. Who are they? What is this? Is it legal? Is my bank going to accept it? Right. And so fundamentally, they had the new category challenge, and they had the who are they? The trust in the brand challenge, right? Both of those combined are really daunting. And so what most people don't know is DocuSign cut their teeth and really hit their first inflection in real estate when the National Association of Realtors, a well-known trusted brand, said, we're going to invest in you. We're going to support you. And when people say, is this legal, or their questions, they're going to go out to their membership and say, listen, this is the official e-sign of real estate, right? And so it helped with the backing, the trust. And for me, again, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think it's the perfect time, is I'm trying to apply those same lessons, right? Because if I went to you and said digital vault, what's a digital vault? I know password manager, I know contact manager, I know cloud storage. But what we're trying to do is say, this is the key for families and individuals of collecting, keeping safe, and securely sharing your most important information. We call it the digital vault. But we also have that other really key component is, okay, I get that, but who are you? How do we trust you, right? This is my most important stuff. So we're trying to apply the lessons of DocuSign and what they learned in my journey with them to what we're doing with Prisidio.
Yeah. And you bring up a really good point. I think about 30 years ago in the early 1990s, when people were like, internet, what's the internet? What's this @.com? Like, people just didn't have the context, but it's evolutionary, right? So here we are, DocuSign. I remember when, 2012, 13, that being cautious because I was unfamiliar with it. And I think now moving forward, but I think we're going to be moving forward a lot faster. I think people are going to start getting it a lot quicker and seeing the value. And more importantly, and I know you've got a few personal stories to share about not just the accessibility, but the urgency when someone needs quick access to a secured document.
Right.
So can you share a little bit about your family experience and what that, or even just starting with your dad? I mean, I know you have a personal story about your dad and his hope chest.
Well, I think fundamentally the first and most important thing is, like, we live in a complex and ever-changing world, right? We have an aging population, right? I mean, look at the data from AARP. How many people are over the age of 50? More people within the next, I think, 5 years over the age of 65 than under the age of 16. We live in a world of increased severity and frequency of natural disasters, right? I'm not one to have the argument, is it global warming? It doesn't matter. It's a fact. I live in Naples, Florida, and we had 2 hurricanes go by this past year. There's another one brewing right now. We had Hurricane Ian, right? So we have more frequent severe natural disasters, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. We live in a world where there is an ever-growing amount of unclaimed property, right? $70 billion is held by the states today of your property, my property, because no one knew when someone passed away that they had a bank account or a storage unit.
Unclaimed.
And, right?
Unclaimed assets,
Unclaimed
only
assets.
because they weren't secured. There
Right.
was no plan.
Right.
The beneficiaries weren't set up correctly. The executorship, there was no tertiary
Right.
so how to be able to ensure that the life we're building today, that we have that plan for tomorrow, and having that, to me, digital vault
Yep.
is crucial.
And let's not forget, underlying all of this is cyber threats and identity theft and all that, right? So what used to be okay to send something via email with your personal information is easily hacked, stolen today, right? So we've got to know underlying all of that. But you talk about a personal story, right? And to me, it hit home so relevant. In the last year, first of all, both my mother and my father, both 78, have had medical scares. First real medical scares both of my parents have had, and I'm the executor for both. Okay, right? And so, my wife and I just very fortunate celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. We went from down here in Naples. We flew to Chicago, San Francisco, and then we spent 2 weeks in Tahiti and Bora Bora, right? And I am an organized person. I have my checklist. What do I need to pack? I travel all the time. But what I didn't, when we got to Tahiti, we made the short flight over to Bora Bora. We land, we go to bed. The next day I wake up and I have a flurry of texts from my sister. And it turns out my mom was taken by ambulance to the hospital, to the ER, and she had a serious heart arrhythmia and issue. And now, thankfully, my mom's okay. She spent some time in the hospital and then several weeks in rehab, and she's back home currently. But I am the executor. I am her power of attorney, and I had all of her important documents. She gave me a folder probably 4 years ago with advanced medical directives, power of attorney healthcare, power of attorney financial, funeral plans, all these different things. Now, imagine waking up to that and my sister saying, hey, I need these things. Well, I'm in Bora Bora, and all of this is in a safe, printed out in my house in Florida. But thanks to Prisidio, they were all in there. I scanned them all in. They were already in my vault. My sister already had access to certain things in my vault, whatever I chose. And I simply went share to power of attorney, advanced medical directives. And then I said, do you need me to send those to the hospital as well? She said, yes. And I sent them via secure link via email, not attachments. But the key is I didn't have on my prepared Glenn checklist, have mom's power of attorney medical directives available. And this was a time sensitive, really important component. And it was just this, I got to tell you, Nikki, a very stark reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And Bora Bora is, what's the time zone difference, right?
6 hours behind. Yeah.
Well, let me go ahead. We're talking about Prisidio, and some people might not be able to capture the context of what we're talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here. And maybe you can walk through, with the audience of what Prisidio is and, what it was that got you to develop. Now, I just see that Prisidio, that you are now a partner with AARP, and they're using the term age tech.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
It is, and it is a big one. Age tech tries to capture the ecosystem around how do you help, in a sense, people over the age of 50 live their best life, right? And that's fundamentally, and it touches so many different areas. But, of course, in venture capital, you have like prop tech, which is stuff related to properties. You have fintech related to finance. And so I think AARP has done an insanely great job of basically capturing this age tech notion, getting behind it, building the ecosystem. And they have something called the Age Tech Collaborative from AARP. And they really are the leaders in helping kind of build this ecosystem of everything from startups like Prisidio to finance and backing to large enterprises. And yeah, we're proud. We went through their accelerator program back in 2023. They've invested, I believe, in about 100 startups that have come through their accelerator. I think we're one of 4 or 5 that they've done a follow-up on. We have something interesting I can't share today that's going to be announced in January at the Consumer Electronics Show. They announced something called the Age Tech Investor Network, and I can't share all the news behind it, but that's something that's out there right now. And they're doing a great job leading in that space. And we've actually been working with them and their membership group on a project that's getting announced in Q1 that is a one-of-one type of partnership, and quite frankly, the future of how AARP does business. And I wish I could tell you more right now, but
You're all good.
we have something.
Listen, by the time this podcast is launched, all of this will be out of the bag and still. Yeah. So, what would you want if someone is to, let's talk about organizing. What do you feel if someone's like, okay, I have 10,000, pictures on my phone. I have my assets, both physical and digital, are just scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
Can you give us a step-by-step walkthrough of how people can start to organize themselves in order to manage or to begin to manage a digital vault?
Yeah. And I think, for me, it starts with like, what are the things that you put in there? And we categorize it in what we call in our 4 components. So we have people, places, things, and of course, documents. Now, people is who are the important people in your world, right? Who knows something about you, about what you have or where you have it, or will need to in the case of an emergency or if you're no longer here, right? So people could be everyone from a spouse or partner. It could be children if they're of age. It could be parents, but it could be your cardiologist, your financial planner, your attorney if you have one, your CPA, anyone that is important in your life that someone else may need to know about. Whether if I have a hurricane in Florida and my house is damaged, who's my insurance agent? Or hopefully a long time down the road, my dad passes away. Does he have a financial advisor? Who is that person, right? So that's the people component. The second component is what we call places. And places is something nobody really thinks about, but is so critical today, is where are your original documents, like a car title, a will? Where are your valuables? And where are your accounts, right? And so places can be physical, like a safety deposit box, a storage unit, a file cabinet like the one behind me. But they also could be digital, right? I have an account it could be as simple as Disney Plus that needs to get shut down. It could be I have a bank account at Bank of America. It could be, there's almost 500 million people that hold cryptocurrency these days across the world. Well, that's held in an online crypto wallet typically. Well, who is it? Where is it? Right? So that's the places component. The third component is what we call things. And we intentionally broaden the definition because it's not just assets by when people think of like, what do you have of financial value? It's just as important. What do you have of family and sentimental value, right? And so, yes, it could be a car, a watch, an insurance policy, a 401k, but it also could be in my vault. I have a blanket my grandmother knit for me 40 years ago. It's this green blanket, and I've got that as the thing because that's really important to me. It's important to my family. And in a garage sale, it has $5 value, but boy, the sentimental value and value to our family is so much higher. So in things, we look at, yes, financial value, but also family value. And then the last component, which is quite frankly, the one people think about first, is documents. Everything from identity documents like a birth certificate or passport to tax and financial documents to ownership documents, insurance policies. But that's the starting point, is understanding those are what we think are the 4 most important areas that one needs to start with.
With the Endeavor process, right? Plan, protect, peace, giving peace of mind. We focus on what we call a crucial doc box. And like you, we are very, we're on the same page, right? The idea is that you have the physical, but you also have digital, but to create a physical system, right? In order to, because life is going to happen and you don't know, do you need the hard copy or can, the digital copy as well? And here we are in the 4th industrial revolution. And we're moving forward so fast that what was accepted yesterday might not be what's accepted for tomorrow. And DocuSign certainly has shown that to us in the last almost 15 years, the evolution of how things are managed. And so, where do you see the future going once someone has been able to? And that just what you just shared right there, for some people, that's a lot. That's like a lot to be thinking about because they have to really take a serious assessment of like everything that they have in their life and where it needs to be filed and go. And
Right.
step by
But
step, how do you support somebody when there
yeah.
is so much to be thinking about?
Well, I mean, first of all, people always ask me, what are people doing today? And it's a variety of things. People have the When I Die file. That's a folder that it's hey, just it's
Right.
under this in my cabinet. If you ever need it, this is here. That's good, right? Some people have, like, everyone's got contacts on their phone. Well, that's great, but guess what? If I can't get on your phone, and if you look at my contacts, I've probably got 3 or 4 thousand. So good luck trying to find the important people. Um, but it's a matter of trying to put together a plan, right? And so one of the things that we've known from day one is A, we've got to help you, and B, we've got to focus on this concept of tiny habits. Because if I have 100 people that get started with Prisidio, there's one, what I would refer to myself as a nerd, that would get excited, and I'm like, all right, this weekend I'm not binge watching the new season of Yellowstone. I'm
Priority.
not helping. I'm getting on my computer. I'm putting this together. That's not most people. And so what we focus on is A, helping you by within Presidio, whether you're in documents, people, places, or things, web or mobile, we give you ideas of here's the type of identity documents, here's the type of professionals in your life, people that you should be adding. So right in front of you, web or mobile, we give you ideas. We also now start customizing. So when you sign up for Presidio, we ask you 5 questions that you can answer in 30 seconds. Are you married or do you have a partner? If so, what's the name? Do you have any dependents? If yes, how many? What's their name and age? How do you get around? So automobiles. Where do you reside? Your home. And then do you have any pets? And so now when you get in, we're giving you ideas. So if you say, my name's John and Mary's my spouse or partner, we say you should add John's will, Mary's will, John's driver's license, Mary's driver's license. So we're trying to guide you. But underlying all of this is that notion of tiny habits. And what I'm trying to get out to people, because the overwhelming reception when I talk about what we do is, oh my God, I need that for my parents, for my
Right.
family. And then it gets to, oh God, that sounds like a big effort. And then and guess what, Nikki? I'm going to do that next week, next month, next year.
That
Right?
because of it's that feeling of overwhelm.
Absolutely.
And listen, the fact that you woke up in Bora Bora when you were supposed to be on vacation to get this flurry of emails that your parent, your mother,
Yep.
is ill and you're thousands of miles away.
Right.
You're not necessarily in of sound mind to be making these, where is that document? Or I don't know
Right.
where it is.
Right.
And to be able to have easily accessible at hand, even though you might be going through an emotional response
Yep.
of,
Yeah.
right, shock, stress, overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
but you had Presidio at your hands. You knew how to get into the system. You knew how to share. It was just seamless to be able to
Yeah.
share that documentation. And I think that that's where people get caught is there's one exercise that we do in building out a final playbook. It's called 10 reasons why we avoid,
Sure.
because we really need to understand that level of avoidance, right? And I
Yeah.
think Presidio, is it overwhelm? Is it fear? Is it the
Right.
denial, the dissidence of, oh, I've got, it's on my to-do list, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
But what does it take to create action for someone to not just think about a plan? Because I think most people think about a plan or the what if scenario, but to take action to build that plan. And I love the fact that if I'm a new user, I'll go on Presidio and you're going to ask me simple but
Mm-hmm.
personable questions.
Yeah.
But those questions are basically, who are the people in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are my beneficiaries? Could be if I'm married, right? So my husband's going to be my executor.
Right.
My pets. Being I have 4 dogs. So being a pet person, to understand that that's part of my family too. How are those people being taken care of?
Right.
So that is absolutely brilliant. And then that information. Now, how does the system, are you using an AI component at this point? Um, how is the system metabolizing and then guiding me through that journey?
Well, I mean, what we knew early on, like I did 2 years of diligence in the space before I even formed the company, right? Can we do this? How do we keep everything safe and secure and private? How would we go to market? But one of the key things is, how do you help people understand, like, don't panic. You literally can do this in 5 or 10 minutes every couple of weeks. And after 6 months, you'd be stunned what you have, right? And so one of the cornerstones for what we do that people always point out as a differentiator for us is our mobile app, the ease of use and simplicity, right? Because think about this situation. If I'm in my closet later and let's say I have a safe in my closet and I
We
go,
call it a crucial dock box, just so
a
you know.
crucial dock box, right? Wherever that may be.
Fireproof, waterproof. It's in the back of the closet.
Exactly. Now, if you're in the closet and you're getting ready to go out, or you just got home, or whatever it may be, and you see that crucial dock box, and then you go, light goes off. Hey, I should add that as a place in Prisidio. Someone will need to know about that at some point down the road. What we don't want you to do is go, okay, path A, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to go find my computer. I'm going to log in. I'm going to add it, because you're not going to do that.
It's too much.
Path B is the mental note. Tomorrow, when I'm on my computer, I'm going to add it. That's not going to work either. And so what we want to do is enable you, as you think about something, see it, grab your phone, because we know the data. Like, it's 99.9% of the time my phone's with me, right? Like most people. Grab my phone, go to the Prisidio app, literally go add, place, picture, and then put your phone down, keep doing what you're doing. You add things in the moment as you see them or think about them, and then move on. And that process took you 30 seconds. And so if you follow us on social media, you'll see we do almost every week, we do a 2-minute tip. Like, I just filmed one. I got my new license plate sticker, the registration. So, and I need to add it. Well, I did that in a moment's notice. I had my phone with me as I was going through the mail. I said, here it is. I took a picture of it, and I basically put the sticker on my car. And now I have a copy of that in my digital vault, right? And so we want to enable you to be able to do things in the moment. And here's what I think is really different about Prisidio is, I'm going to guess, Nikki, you, like me, like everyone out there, is super busy, right? We don't have time. We don't have the free time. Right?
It's either busy or distracted.
Distracted, right? And so what we want to do is, we took it from everything is on your shoulders to get things into your vault.
Right.
So we have 3 tiers. One is, yes, sorry, you're going to have to do a little bit of work, but we can truly minimize it into these 5 or 10-minute chunks. But then what we're going to do, thanks to our sharing component, which we do things nobody else in the world does, is allowing you to invite people into your vault. You can control what every single person differently can see and do and know what they've done, but you're sharing the workload with either your husband or my wife, or my sister is doing stuff for my mom's vault. And so it takes burden off of you and spreads it to your financial advisor or your attorney. Don't just send me my new will, put it into my vault, right? And you can permission and control that. And then the third level, besides the other people do the work, we call nobody does the work. And so we have a partnership, for example, with DocuSign. So now imagine anything you sign with DocuSign can go right into your vault, right? And if you're signing something with DocuSign, think about the things you've signed. They're generally pretty important in your life.
You hit on a spot about that privacy and how privacy is so important, and yet people don't really understand how vulnerable they are because we don't own our data. Right. It is these platforms that it's the Metas, the LinkedIns, the Ubers, right? They're all able to track us, and we don't have control of that. It sounds like Prisidio is giving me an opportunity to regain my data sovereignty.
I think that is core to what we're doing. In fact, I mean, key to the team I'm built of employees, advisors, investors has been people that really understand this on a global scale. So we've got one of the most senior executives at PayPal on privacy that I if we have any questions about GDPR or CCPA and these privacy standards, we can go to. The chief information security officer that built DocuSign literally from startup to public company, she's on my board of directors, has been involved since day one. My chief technology officer, Andrew, literally worked at the NSA equivalent in the United Kingdom, and his job was to protect country assets that included everything from tax records to nuclear launch codes. So everything we've done has been with privacy, security, and compliance in mind, and making sure, first and foremost, it's your data, right? And we want to put you in control. And even in sharing, which is such a big differentiator for us, and we have several international patent applications filed on this. So many times we just share via text and email, but it's the worst way to share stuff that has social security numbers, bank accounts. Think about when someone says, hey, do you have the login credentials to Bank of America? Or even something as simple as Disney Plus. What do? We text it, right? And by the way, that Disney Plus may seem simple, but if that's the same password you use for all your accounts, guess what? People are going to just take that and start using it, right? And seeing what they can get into. So for us, with the sharing, you can invite people in so they can get stuff securely themselves. And literally down to the moment, if let's say, Nikki, you're my insurance agent, the moment you go into my vault, I get a notification that says, Nikki accessed your vault from, let's just say, Dallas, Texas. And in one click, I could block your access if it said Dubai. And I'm like, what's Nikki doing on my vault in Dubai? Or Nikki, we haven't talked in a year as my attorney. Well, what do you have access to? In one click, I can block your access temporarily until I can look at it. But the key underlying everything is you always are in control of your content, and you know who has access, and you know what anyone has done. And I think that is so important, especially in the digital age. We don't live in this isolated, siloed world.
Right.
We need to, this is our important information. We need to share it, but I got to be in control of that.
And it's not just our important information. It is, if life happens, and I was in a car accident tomorrow, and I was incapacitated, not gone necessarily, but incapacitated. My family needs to get a hold of me. To be able to understand what my wishes are. And then maybe I don't come out of that coma. Maybe I do pass. Then for them able to know that everything, they don't have to clean out that file cabinet that is disorganized. I've already spent that time, done my due diligence, worked through the process. And, I do want to empower people that this is not, there's a level of responsibility and awareness that we need to put into place as we're building out our very, thoughtful plan. And I think that that's what Prisidio does. It allows me to put together a thoughtful legacy plan.
Yeah. And I will tell you, one of the things that I've been focused on since moment one is this is not just a high net worth solution. You have to have 5 or 20 or $1 million in assets to use it. I want to democratize this solution for everybody because we all have the need. And, one of the things that we do, we have a process called the key holder. You identify who do you want to have access to everything in your vault. Eventually, upon your passing, after we validate, we get certificates, the death certificate. We have a video notary session to confirm everything. So we have a really strong process to release a vault that starts with validating if the owner of the vault and if there is a co-owner have passed, right? But it's that game plan because, when you think about it, someone passes away in your family. I start generally my presentation, say, okay, if you had a loved one pass unexpectedly, would you know, did they have a will? Oh, and by the way, where's the original copy of the will? Because in most states today, that's needed, right? Do they have, who's their insurance agent? Right? Do they have a safety deposit box? Those are important questions. And so what Prisidio we're trying to do is provide people a tool to get that all together so that it is eventually successfully transitioned. Because what happens when a loved one passes away, whoever is left behind, whether it's a spouse or partner, a child, you become an archaeologist, right? And it used to be easier, 100 years ago or 50 years ago for my grandparents, the house was the dig site, right? and everything was physical and discoverable. You go through the business cards in their Rolodex or in the file cabinet. You look for the insurance policy and billing statements. You look for bank account statements. Well, guess what? Everything's in the cloud, which means you're not going to find it. And so that job of the archaeologist at a time when you're grieving the loss of a loved one has become a multitude more difficult and, quite frankly, nearly impossible. It's needle in a haystack. What do they have? Where do they have it? Which is why there's 70 billion and growing held by the states, because stuff is getting lost. And so that's what we do.
I mean, I just think about some of those young crypto bros, right? These young people who have digital wallets that are in their 20s or 30s, and the last thing on their mind is that what if? But even for them, how many stories have we heard about somebody who forgot their seed phrase, and they're sitting on millions of dollars worth of digital assets, but they just couldn't remember their seed phrase?
Well, so, I mean, we're talking, right? Crypto Bitcoin just hit $90,000, an all-time record as we're recording this. There's 500 million people around the globe that hold it. The data today, consistent study shows 15 to 18% of all Bitcoin mined today has been lost. That's data. That's factual, right? Why? Mark my word, more and more will, because someone passed away and nobody knew, right?
People, that secret, I should do an episode on that. The secrecy of people's assets. It's amazing how people don't want to share what they have when they're alive. Yeah. It's kind of like this unreveal when, Uncle Joe died, and we have to wait for the reading of the will to know what was really in his assets. And I think it's the same thing right now, that especially with the crypto, I think people have been very secretive about that they hold a crypto wallet, or they don't want their loved ones to know that they spent money on any meme coins. So you brought up a super important detail there.
Well, I mean, think about this, and I give this example all the time. Mm-hmm. My wife and I, we have our jobs to be done in the family, right? She manages insurance, our bank accounts. I manage things like crypto investments, right? And I've got Bitcoin and I've got Ethereum, and I've had it for a while. Not a ton, but becoming meaningful. If I passed without Prisidio and my estate folks went to my wife, Chantal, and said, did Glenn have cryptocurrency? I guarantee you her answer would be no, because she doesn't know the term crypto. If they said, did he have Bitcoin? She'd say yes. And what happens next is how many and where? And she would have been clueless. In Prisidio today, I can tell you my vault, in my things, I've got identified cryptocurrency, that I have coins of Ethereum and Bitcoin. In my places, I have Coinbase. That's my crypto wallet. In the documents section, I literally took and wrote on a piece of paper,
your secret
phrase is in the safe. So I don't even have it in my Prisidio vault, the phrase. Okay. But I have, here's where you find it. And so the thing crypto is linked to the place, a Coinbase, that's linked to a piece of paper that tells you where the secret key is. That's linked back to the safe where the secret key is. So my wife, without me, could piece everything together and get access to it. And that, to me, encapsulates what we're doing and why. Because you think 70 billion in assets today, unclaimed, is big? That number is going to explode.
You just opened up a can of worms. Yeah. That unclaimed asset. I did do an interview with the probate PI, Mike, I introduced you to, and being able to hire this probate, private investigator because of those unclaimed assets. Right. And so as we close out this podcast here, Glenn, I just feel like Prisidio could really ensure people that they don't become that statistic of an unclaimed asset.
Well, we want to give you peace of mind, and it's not just in death and dying. And there's no question that's an important component about it, but it's about life and living and having the peace of mind that if something happens, right? The simplest one, right? I was on a Zoom yesterday, and one of our employees, a really good friend too, lives in Naples, just moved down from Chicago. And she was talking about in the last hurricane, when they had to evacuate, they have a dog. And guess what? When you go somewhere to evacuate, they need proof of vaccination. And you're not thinking about that when you're evacuating because a hurricane's coming screaming at you. But it's these things in life, right? Even our Disney Plus account. I don't know about you, but like our kids will text us at midnight on a Saturday going, hey, did someone change the Disney Plus account? And I'm like, they're trained now. They know it's in Prisidio. They can go there and get it. And it's so all these daily living things. Do you know if your teenage driver has a copy of your insurance card if they need it and they can't get a hold of you? That's in Prisidio, right? All these different things. So we're trying to give people ultimately peace of mind to live your life and know that if something happens, you're ready for it. And if you're not here, loved ones are not going to be scrambling and be kind of in the dark at a time when they're mourning your loss.
Listen, it is that concept that we're bringing to light today, which is the digital vault and the importance of a digital vault in this new digital age that we're living in. So Glenn, thank you so much for sharing your experience and expertise. And I'm excited to be offering Prisidio as one of our affiliate partners. So with that, let's end here. And any last, what should people do next? What would be the best next thing for people to create their Prisidio account?
Well, I will say first and foremost, my passion is about getting people to do something. Whatever it may be, do something. Now, I believe we purpose-built Prisidio to be that solution. If you're interested in taking a look, go to our website, learn more. But you can sign up for a free trial. Get started. No cost, no credit card. Check it out and see how we can help you gain control in your own life and gain that peace of mind.
Yeah. And in Devo, we're here to support you to work through those emotional blockers, those avoidances, to talk about death and dying in the digital age. Thank you so much for joining, and we're looking forward to the next conversation.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.